Hi everybody, my name is Chris and you are now in my changing room in a hotel in the basement where I changed to go to work. I'm working as a chef and today is my first video I put in English. I have also a video for the past months which I do in my native language, in Polish, and it's about transition of an ex-alcoholic. So I'm gonna start today this video clip in English. I will try to do my best to show you my workplace and talk just a little about stuff which is very important to me, how it came to that I stopped drinking for the past 6.5 years. And before I was labeled for over 20 years as an alcoholic. I call myself a functioning alcoholic, but I want to show you, and maybe some of you will be interested, how it came to that I stopped drinking and how I'm functioning now, over 6 years past, as a person who doesn't drink anymore. So I'm gonna change now into my whites and I'm gonna show you the kitchen I'm working now. So a little bit of introduction. I am 56 years old. I live now in UK, work as a chef. Well, I work in a restaurant business since I was 19 years old, and I grew up in Poland. The first 15 years I spent there. Then when I was 15 we moved with my family back then to West Germany, where I finished college, and when I reached the age of 28 I moved to America, lived there for 16 years. Then in 2006 I moved back to Germany, and since 2008 I live now in UK. It's for sure not the end of my journey, but that's what it is for now. I put my hair net first, because as you see I have a ponytail, so for hygiene purposes I have to have a hair net on my head. We don't need to serve our customers no extras, such as my hair. Not that it's falling apart, but just in case. I got also my hairband, which I love to have as well. And like I said, this is my first English speaking video. If I make a lot of mistakes, it's probably halfway because I am nervous and I never videotape myself in English, so I hope you're with me, but I hope, you know, after a while, after a few more clips, it's gonna be much easier for me to talk, for you to understand me. And like I said, the whole purpose of the video is the process which I'm going through for the past 6 years of being non-drinker anymore. I'm gonna try to use those words as much as possible, and I will explain to you why I hate words like alcoholics, alcoholism, and I will try to explain to you why my philosophy lead me to this point that I'm not using those label words which everybody is come to. So I'm gonna go now upstairs, and soon I'm gonna show you where I'm working and how my daily life at work looks like. All right, I see you. And here, guys, I wanna show you my workplace. That's the back of the kitchen, where all the walk-in coolers and walk-in freezer. That's mostly what I prepare. I am chef de partie, so mostly for me are desserts, appetizers, preparing, you know, stuff for big buffets. Then we're going to the main kitchen. There's also my work area for the evening when I work at the restaurant and do stuff, you know, on a daily basis in the evening when we serve dinner. Our fryer, stove, a big convention oven, combi, so you can steam stuff or bake. That's the second one. Most of the time it's set up on steaming. Then we got a big sham where we keep our stuff warm by approximately 94-95 degrees Celsius. our coolers as the main area for the head chef, sous chef. Got another oven, stove, 4-burner, flat stove, salamander, and a grill. That's where we expedite everything. And in the back, of course, we've got the dishwasher. It's the dishwasher here, that's the area. And from the kitchen, of course, we can go, chefs, into the restaurant area. Here's our buffet where we serve hot and cold stuff, some buffets, and that's the restaurant for approximately 80-90 people. Alright, that's how it looks. And at the moment I am preparing today, it's Monday, putting those mashed potatoes with sage, salt, pepper. I'm gonna make them to whole patties, some bacon for BLTs. And like I said, I just started. It's after 1:12 p.m. on Monday, the 13th of August. And this here just show you, that's our walk-in cooler. Right. And that's our freezer. It's not big enough for our purposes, but we try to manage as much as we can. So, alright guys, and I see you later. So, while I'm doing my preparation for the daily preparation for this evening, so I'm gonna answer a couple of obvious questions. Why am I doing this? Well, not why I'm cooking, because I have to make a living, but why I'm doing those videos. Well, for sure, one thing to share with you guys, with those who know anybody with alcohol problems, those who have a problem with it, to share my story, how it began, and how I successfully not drinking for the past 6.5 years. The other side is I'm still working on my transformation from somebody who was drinking heavily for over 20 years to the person who I am today. And everything has to do with self-esteem in a broader way, because one of the reasons, or maybe the main reason why I started drinking in the first place, was my lack of self-esteem. And to explain exactly what it means, it's not that I was afraid of meeting people or I wasn't thinking that I'm good enough, but in a deep sense, yes, expectations which were set upon me from family, friends, later on 2 wives, I was married twice, all those expectations which I couldn't fulfill lower my self-esteem. And today, to keep it balanced, also making those videos push my self-esteem up. So it's also a process where doing those videos and knowing that sooner or later somebody's gonna watch them, it's like, okay, it matters, I matter, and I don't feel like, oh, I have to achieve anything, I have to have some kind of a label, titles, just to feel good about myself. But again, it's a process. It's easy to say, oh, okay, I'm fine, nothing is wrong with me. But if you come to a point where after 20 years of heavy drinking, you start your life all over again, it matters anything you do in the time of transformation. All right, so, and in between, because maybe not everybody knows all those cooking shows which were around all over the world. Every country has some, so I want to show you, maybe without any big production, just real life in the kitchen from a point of view of a just regular, not celebrity chef. Even I cooked back then when I used to live in America for some famous people, but that's the point. Now I'm just in a regular hotel, in a regular kitchen with regular people, and I'm more or less going to show you how this job looks like for those who knows this job, they know. For those who maybe think about it, to go into this business, show you, how it really looks like. The good good side, the bad side, all around, and give you the feeling, the real feeling, however the production in the kitchen looks like, without having a crew of cameramen and production people behind me, so just regular raw material. Short version of how did I start drinking? Well, I was 28 years old. I was back then living in Germany, and I was for almost 2 years seriously involved in a relationship with a woman who was 14 years older than me, had 2 grown-up sons, and at this time I was not even drinking socially. From time to time, very little. Actually, for a young man, I didn't socially drink almost at all, but as I used to call it, I was drinking sometimes professionally when I worked in nightclubs, bars. Back then in the 80s, it was almost required for a good bartender to know how to drink a lot, because when customers invited you for a drink, well, it wouldn't be polite to say no. Plus, my bosses were always looking for money, so customers buy a drink for himself, buy for me, it's 2. As long as I can keep it, the check will be always double. Well, so that was my professional drinking between I was 20 and 26, 27. But like I said, I never really binge drink, I almost never drank socially. I was always on private parties the designated driver, so I never had back then any problems with alcohol. Back then I moved to America following my love. She was an American, and months later we split up. Engagement fell apart, and I was left with the situation what to do. I was in California, I had a 6 months tourist visa, and my life more or less collapsed back then. That's what I thought. Well, making long story short, I moved right after I split from my fiancée. I moved from California to New York, where my cousin lived, and I was trying to decide what to do. Going back to Germany, facing all the people who I said, oh, now I'm moving to America, I would become a rich person, successful, whatsoever, or just stay and try to do the best in America. So just to think about the shame which I put upon myself to go back to Germany and having no woman, no money, so that's I didn't want to face, so I decided to stay in America. And that's when it started. I started to have a job. By the way, that's my blaster, which from time to time just make this funny sound, so I'm gonna stop talking for a while, until maybe one day I'm gonna buy myself a body microphone, so it's gonna be easier. At the moment I'm doing the mashed potatoes with sage, salt and pepper to form those little patties, which I'm gonna then put into the butter and deep fry. So, starting working in New York as a bartender, which day it was, I don't know, but pretty soon I was opening the restaurant/bar around 11 o'clock in the morning, waiting for the first customers to arrive. And before, probably first time, second time, third time, before opening, I had a little drink. It was back then vodka on the rocks with a splash of lime, sometimes a little juice just for flavor. And it's starting to feel good. You know, those drinks before noon helped me. I mean, I was still coping with being, on a tourist visa. Actually, I wasn't allowed to work, but somehow back then I worked. Still, the loss of the relationship subconsciously was bothering me. So those was like those first few months, and I think alcohol helped back then. What I was thinking that is helping, because I wasn't thinking so much about the past and what I didn't achieve at this point in my life. So that's the short version how I started. Then a year later I moved to Chicago, where my brother lived until today. He lives there with his family. We opened our first business. It was a bar/nightclub with a live band. And that was for me, like I said, the first year later being in America, it was drinking every day, all the time. So it was coffee, cigarettes, drinks. And it felt good. And the funny part was because all of a sudden everything what I wanted to accomplish somehow worked, or at least it was the illusion. But I never could imagine that, I'm gonna open a business all of a sudden. I am first here in America. Actually, I don't have any money. My brother was also not too much on the rich side, but we managed. We opened first one deli, then we opened second deli, and then a few months later we had the opportunity and we opened a nightclub. So, forgetting my big love, establishing myself in a foreign country, drinking and being successful, because opening a bar was for me a sign of success. So everything matched together, and I was thinking, yeah, that's why I need alcohol. So that's the first part of my story. $20 people for dinner. We're gonna do, my friend's gonna do a ham and turkey pie with a puff pastry crust. We got here brown gravy with it, rolls, and then we're gonna serve it with some chips and with steamed vegetables. So that's for tonight. Otherwise it's Monday, so as I always say, hopefully be a nice and quiet day, because I like to be lazy. One of the reasons why I'm telling you the story how I started, or what I think that's and when everything started, is just to tell you that mostly people, to tell you who drink, who have maybe some problems already with it, and I later explain why those problems are not those problems. As I always say, drinking is not the problem. Problem is deep down in us. Drinking is just a tool. Could be anything. Could be drugs, could be alcohol, could be shopping, could be family. Those are all addictions we are addicted to. And by the way, I tell everybody who is now labeled as an alcoholic, you are not in an exclusive club, because this club is bigger than just you see during AA meetings or when you're in a bar. The club has now approximately, what the science says, 7 billion souls. Yes, everybody has the same problem being addicted to something. Me, you, somebody else who knows who I'm talking to, we are just addicted to certain substances which are right away recognizable. I mean, it's hard to see somebody who is shopaholic or workaholic, but alcoholic you can see right away. So it's no difference about those addictions, it's only the tools we use. Being in a club of 7 billion members, you don't have to feel isolated. The point is why I'm telling the story how it started, because I didn't plan to be a heavy drinker, or what people called me an alcoholic. And for many, many years, at least 15 of those 20 I drank, I said, hey, I have no problem, I'm functioning. I was never laid off from a job. I never had an accident in America, driving every day, and I was driving every day legally drunk. Because I was drinking really 7 days a week. Even when I was in a hospital, didn't stop me. But either nobody recognize or see it, or I could hide it so very well that, like I said, I never had a problem because of alcohol, at least not officially. The machine started talking again, so most likely I am telling the truth. But I stopped now for a second so that we have a little bit of quiet time. Why to admit to a problem when I didn't see one? Well, in those 15 years I was drinking, the first 15 years, I was thinking I am accomplishing stuff. Well, like I said, I opened a first business, second business, third business. I met a wonderful woman. I got married. So at this point, from time to time, I had sometimes more money. So I had a nice brand new car. I had a good clothes. I could afford things. And everything was going, the way I was thinking it's perfect. So I never really got drunk so that I fell or that I had to be ashamed of myself. So nothing happened, and that's the reason I said I have no problem with alcohol. Alcohol is a part of my life. I was always a happy alcoholic. I use the word alcoholic specifically so that people understand, but I always will mention that it's only a label. And my blaster is agreeing with me. So sometimes I think it was like a match in heaven, my drinking, my working like a crazy maniac. I sometimes don't know if I was more alcoholic than workaholic, but I knew I had to work hard to get the money, and once I got the money, I could buy the drinks. And like I said, I was always a happy alcoholic. I never went violent or stuff like this. If I drank too much, I just went to some kind of a corner where I could lean and peacefully sleep. Never slept too much. For me, it was like an average 4 or 5 hours of sleep that was top. Never had a problem with waking up. Never had a problem with hangover. I don't know what's hangover or headaches. But when I felt not so well in the morning, I just needed, a couple of big shots of whiskey or vodka. Normally Jack Daniels was the choice of my drinks. And I was fine. I mean, sometimes when I worked split shift, and I had a couple of hours between, let's say, 2 and 4 or 3 and 5. Before going to job, I went to another bar, I had a few drinks, and I was full of energy again. So alcohol was for me everything. It was to be happy, to forget, to have energy. All my illnesses, whatever it came from, flu to toothache or whatever, alcohol was the best medicine. So I actually never went to doctors. I never checked my blood pressure until later, but we're gonna talk about this maybe next time. So I used to always say alcohol was my first love, was my best friend, never let me down, always were there when I needed. And how could I think it's a problem when at this point everything in my life worked? I mean, it was not everything perfect, not everything was without any problems, but overall I could say I was living for myself a successful life, happy life, and I didn't see alcohol as a problem. And that's, I think, the point where I'm addressing everybody who thinks the same way. At one point, you never know when it started to, I think Robin Williams, late Robin Williams said it. At the beginning you drink and it's so much fun, and the hangover part is only a little bit. When it starts shifting, that you drink and it's only so much fun, but the recovery is 2 or 3 times bigger than the happiness, the joy you've got it when you drink, then it's something wrong. But like I said, today is the first video, so I'm gonna jump a little bit to give you overall picture of me starting drinking, stopping drinking, and maybe after a while, when I make more videos, I'm gonna go more deeper. I'm not trying to help anybody. I went through AAs, I went through doctors, nothing helped. I was also married second time to a woman which was also an alcoholic. She successfully stopped drinking because of AA. The funny part is, I was driving as an alcoholic, I was driving her to AA meetings and went opposite direction and went to Al-Anon meetings. I mean, for people who lives with alcoholics. So I mean, more ridiculous stuff you cannot imagine. But I did it, and I was serious about it. Wasn't a joke for me, and I was really, keeping my fingers crossed for my back then wife, and I was seriously going to Al-Anon meetings to understand what kind of a problem she has. Because at this point, I haven't seen that I have any problems. I mean, I was drinking, but I didn't have a problem with it. I had always a problem when I had not enough to drink. And I think many people can relate to. But that's more or less what I wanted to tell you, how I started. And today, why I'm making those videos, and why it's also a kind of therapy for me, because when you stop physically drinking, doesn't mean you stop having those problems which led you first place to start drinking and being an alcoholic. Jumping to another subject, one of the reasons I started to doing this now in English, because the last few weeks when I was doing the YouTube for the Polish community in Polish, all my coworkers were looking freaking like where we are. And it was strange, because everybody is speaking English in the kitchen. We are in England. So and all of a sudden there's a guy doing, videos and talking to himself in Polish. So that there is much easier from time to time to interact. All people know, my problem we used to have, and they know that, I am an ex-alcoholic. So it's very much in the open. So that's also, I say, don't be ever ashamed of who you are, even if you labeled certain name or certain word. So I always gonna repeat, you are, even if they tell you you're an alcoholic, it's not just, you are a human being, you are an entity, you have a soul, you have dreams, and just because at the moment you are on the wrong path, doesn't mean that you are an alcoholic. Stop labeling yourself and don't allow anybody else to label you as such, because then you really lose your identity, and that's one of the reasons why we started drinking first place, because we were lacking of our identity, who we are, what we want to be, and what people expected from us. So identity is very important, and once you put a label on you that you are an alcoholic, or even admit in a secret anonymous basement somewhere and say, yes, my name is Chris and I'm an alcoholic. No, you're not, and stop doing this, because once you program yourself as to just a name, first name, and then the word alcoholic, it's gonna be much more harder to get rid of it. So, like I said before, just physical drinking doesn't mean you stop having problems. I got 8 minutes left on this memory card, so I'm gonna make it shorter as much as I want for the first video. Why I said before, drinking is not your problem, don't be afraid of alcohol. Because once you do, even if you manage at one point to stop drinking, you're gonna be always afraid of drinking and of alcohol. I've met people who don't drink for years now. They still hooked up on meetings, which is good for them, and God bless them. But on the other hand, meetings like this are another addiction for them. They are so afraid of losing those meetings, losing sponsors, and wherever they go, and wherever is alcohol around them, they are almost freaking out. Maybe they can see them not in their faces, but inside. So that's a struggle for years. What I'm trying to say to you, that you can live a normal life surrounded by people who drink, surrounded by drinks, and still not have this problem of being afraid. alcohol is not the enemy. The drinking itself is not the enemy. Your program which you had from the beginning, your fears, this is your enemy, and not the tools. The tools can be very helpful on the other side. So I'm trying that when you want to start to do this process of not drinking, you have to first realize that you have to reprogram yourself. We are just a biological body. If you don't believe me, a biological computer. If you don't believe me, just listen to, go Google Bruce Lipton and epigenetic. So it will explain in a certain way how our body is programmed, and we can reprogram it by ourselves. So it's not any magic or nothing, it's just a certain programs which, me too, until now, we follow certain programs which we are programmed from the day we born until now. But if you want to change anything, you don't have to look for any miracles. You do exactly what you do with your computer. You just change the program. You can say hello in English. That's the English channel now. It's not that, see, they are used to it now to Polish, so they're speaking Polish. So he is British. It's Sean.
Yeah.
It's the sous chef. All right, see you guys later. One of the messages I want to give to those people who know somebody or have somebody who has a problem with drinking, I want to let you strongly know one thing. Don't try to change those people. Remember, the drinking is not their problem, and try to embrace those qualities those people still have. Maybe they forgot about them, but those qualities are still there. People with drinking problem, mostly they have a problem with identity, as I said before, so try to encourage them to find back to their roots, to those qualities they still have, even if they cannot show them. Don't try to change them, because nobody likes to be changed. And why changing somebody who maybe in a roots is a very good person, just forgot about it and is overshadowed by drinking. So giving those people again back their personality, what they still have, even if they don't know, if maybe you don't see it. But that's the environment you're supposed to give them, that they feel again comfortable, accepted, and no expectations. Nobody likes, you guys know how heavy it's, what a big burden is it on everybody if you have expectations you cannot fulfill. So I encourage everybody, just give those people not so much a chance, but a path to finding themselves again, and so that they feel free, and don't pressurize them to change anything, but to see those qualities they still have and embrace them. That's it. And once you give them a good environment, which is the most important thing in my view, it's my opinion, once the environment is established, everything can go upwards. So with this, until next time, I'm Chris, and I see you later.